Record button.
Hey,
Speech
beautiful
off.
souls. We are back with the Shades of Pride of Vic and Rena. And this is a very, very special episode.
All right, everyone, it's Vic here. So you have Vic.
And you have Rena.
And we have a special guest that we have been teasing y'all about all week.
Yes.
We have the famous and amazing Chris Walker.
Yes.
And everyone has been asking for us, when were we going to have a famous gay male on our podcast? And we couldn't do it best but with him. So there we go. You want to say hello?
Hello, everybody. Hello, Shades of Pride. Glad to be on the podcast to share my story. And thank you for inviting me.
Yes.
Oh, it is a pleasure to have you on, Chris. Thanks for being here.
Yes.
So first things first, we are going to check in with each other, see how each other's week has been.
Yes.
Love, how was your week?
My week was amazing. My week at work, obviously, that's tiring, physically tiring. Clients yelling at me, wanting to get in. But it ended out being really good. I canceled a whole day of work yesterday because my wife called me or texted me and said, "Do you want to go to the Lion King play?" And all I said was yes, yes, yes. And then I started canceling my clients.
Yeah, I couldn't even finish. I didn't finish the text.
I wanted to go, and I looked at the tickets and they were like, I don't know, $100 a piece or more. And I was just like, you know what? I'm good. I'm all right. But we got last minute tickets and we got to go. And it was amazing. It was fun. We got a touch tour.
Yeah, that was really cool.
And thanks to the NFB Dallas chapter, they made that happen. So we were able to go to that. And yeah, I think that's pretty much my week. And what about yours?
My week was pretty good. Work was busy as usual. The Lion King play was like the highlight of the week. That was like so much fun. And then we went to Pluckers, which is a wing place and a sports bar. And it was really, really good. I realized that I can only have 5 of their wings because they're so big.
Yes.
And I also tried this new mixed drink called Psychedelic Frog. And it's like 4 different liquors, I guess. But all I tasted was Malibu. It tasted very tropical. So that was pretty cool.
And it came in a mason jar.
Yeah.
And shout out to Pluckers. If you are a Plucker fan, I don't know if Pluckers, come on. I don't know if Pluckers are on the East Coast or in Cali or anything like that, but they do have a club membership. They have the free one, and then you can pay $10 a month, and you can choose where you can either get like a 1 meal a month free, and then like on your birthday, you and your family can get a free meal, and
Yeah.
then every time you go in, you get a free appetizer. And so like yesterday we signed up, honestly, just to get the appetizers for free. But because we signed up, we got one free appetizer that came with the program. And then for trying it and for coming in, then so we got 2 appetizers. So really, we really didn't need food,
We
but
really didn't.
but we did.
Got away with the appetizer.
Yeah. So that's a little cool thing too. So yeah, is that it for you?
Yes, that is it.
All right.
Chris, how was your
All right. Chris, you there?
I am here. I'm sorry. I blanked. It went blank for a minute. Yeah, my week went really well. I was busy with friends and they were like, "Hey, what are you doing? Let's go out." So I've been doing day adventures with them, and just running around and doing errands. And my friends are very helpful if I need to go to the store, and just picking up stuff and just eating and eating and eating. And I've been cooking and finally getting back into the kitchen after a couple of years, and just getting ready for the summer and just relaxing, finally able to breathe. So that's been my week, and I'm just happy to be, kicking and alive each day.
Awesome. Well, that's
love
good.
it?
Well, I guess since everybody has told us how our week's been, so we're gonna go ahead and take care of the business real quick. And
Yes.
how can people follow us, love?
So y'all can follow us on YouTube as well as Facebook. Our handle is The Shades of Pride with Vic and Rita. That is our YouTube handle and our Facebook page.
Yes, and you can follow all of our episodes. When we put them out, they usually go out on YouTube. I would say a day later. YouTube takes a little bit longer, but we're on all platforms, so you can find us there.
Yes.
Also, you can email us over at shadesofpridepod@gmail.com. Or if you have any feedback, any comments, anything that you guys would like us to talk about, or if you have any questions that you would like for us to answer on air, feel free to, email us or give us a call or text. Shoot us a text or leave a voicemail at 682-730-2001. So yeah, that's how you can follow us. Still, we have not got an Instagram yet.
I would say that.
Or Threads or X.
Or none of that. But y'all will be the first to hear about it when we do.
Right. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get into this podcast, y'all, to this episode. As you all know, Pride is coming to an end, coming to a close. We have been featuring different guests for the month of June. If you haven't checked them out, last week we had our besties with us. The time before that, we had Jess from Maryland, and she was
also a good friend.
Yeah, she was a good friend. She was talking about fertility and everything like that. So check them out. So we are closing it out now, and yeah, so we're gonna get into it.
Let's do it.
I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna let Mr. Chris talk about his journey and obstacles, because we've all dealt with different obstacles and different things just being in the LGBT community alone, on top of being blind, on top of everything else.
Yes.
So, all right, Chris, so the floor is yours.
Yes. Tell them who you are and
Absolutely. Well, thank you both for inviting me into this podcast and sharing my story and just really listening to others and their stories as well, because we all have a place in the world and all of us are unique in our different ways. And let me begin at the beginning. So I was born in 1965, so I will be turning the big 60 in November.
oh, wow.
And so I'm turning another decade older. And I don't feel, my mind doesn't feel that way, but my body does. but it's okay. It's just part of, what it is. So I was adopted. I'm originally from Bangkok, Thailand. And I was in an adoption home, and I had an American family. They were actually an American Black family that adopted me, and they already had 3 kids of their own, 3 girls, 3 of my sisters, and so we had to come back. I came back into the United States. I came to the United States in 1972, so that was my first airplane ride, and I remember it so clearly. And we ended up in Virginia. My parents wanted to stay longer in Thailand, but because of the wars that were going on at that time in the 70s, they were told to come back. So I came back, and I kind of grew up in the Northern Virginia area, Del City. I was sighted at the time. I didn't go blind until I hit the age of 44. I grew up, unfortunately, my parents divorced in the late 70s, and things kind of changed a little bit for me. And I ended up going to live with my father for a little while and finishing high school back in Virginia. It was a little rough. I had a hard time during that period of time because of the parents' divorce. And I really didn't understand what was going on as a child. But as I got older, and I started having my own issues and breakups and problems, I was like, oh, now I kind of understand.
This is what happens.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's life. So, but anyways, I got through that, and I just started working, and I just started going out. I worked I worked both white collar and blue collar jobs. I have a wide range of things that I've done. I've been in the banking industry. I was doing the insurance industry, and then I did a couple of medical associations. I worked for the American Physical Therapy Association for a little while, and then I worked for the American Orthotic and Prosthetic Association under the Government Affairs Department. Now, with the physical therapy, I was a exhibits coordinator, so we dealt with all the meeting stuff. So I'm a good planner, organizer, have been all my life. Um, so I did that, and then I also worked for the Council for Exceptional Children for people, IDEA for special education for a little while. And then I got tired of moving, just office work. And I was out on a business trip to Las Vegas, and I came back to my partner, Joe, and I said, would you want to go out to the West Coast and move? And so we ended up giving everything away, and we drove across country, and we were out there for about 4.5, 5 years. And unfortunately, towards the end of 2009, that's when I went blind. And so I was at work one day. I was working in the casino, and noticed that my eyes were blurry because I was announcing the names and everything and going around. And I told my boss, I said, I can't do this. I can't see the names. So I went to the ophthalmologist, and the ophthalmologist looked at my eyes and said, oh, you need to go to like a retina specialist right now. So I was like, oh, what's going on? So I ended up going to the retina specialist, and then unfortunately they said, you need to go to the hospital now. So I ended up in the hospital for about a week, and my left eye went totally blind.
Oh,
So,
no.
yeah. So I lost my vision there. And then about a week later, I got home, and I was on the computer, and I noticed my right eye was doing the same thing. Well, back into the hospital I went. And by the time I spent about a month, a little bit more than a month in the hospital. And by the time I walked out, I was totally blind.
Oh, no.
And so my partner, Joe, at the time, he and I decided to move back to Virginia. I had started some services for the blind in Las Vegas, where I was taking orientation and mobility and assistive technology, learning Braille, because my goal was to really go back to work. Because that's what, I always heard, like, oh, blind people need to go to work, blah, 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 right? We've heard it all. So that was the thing that I wanted to do. But we ended up coming back to Virginia with the clothes on our back. I didn't bring back anything. And it was sort of like starting over again. And we ended up with Joe's sister and his mom. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, Joe passed away 3 months after we had gotten home.
Oh, no.
So he passed away, and he passed away from congestive heart failure. He was only 44, unfortunately.
Wow.
And so I think, God had something in store for us and said, you need to get home and be with the family. I look back at it now, and luckily, it was sad. So I had to get through that mourning that time. Well, my blindness too, because I was
to say you lost
like a double
whammy.
Yeah. So I was, trying to deal with that, and then losing Joe, and then I sat down and, I had a talk with the family, and I said, look, if you could just let me stay here for a year. And they're like, you don't ever have to leave. And I said, no, I need to leave. I need my independence. So I said, give me a year. And the year to the date that I talked to them, I actually moved and started my new life out to be independent and kind of get on my own again, and start services back in Virginia, in which I did, and started learning my new area. And this is how I ended up in Winchester.
Right.
So where I've been. And then I was trying to figure out, well, what do I want to do? Do I want to go back to work? I was trying to find an organization that would kind of help me. And I really didn't know about blindness. I didn't know any blind people. And so at that time, I had met Jim, and Jim was my husband. And unfortunately, he passed away a couple years ago. So I've had two losses. He had a triple bypass heart surgery, and it didn't go well. And unfortunately, he was in the hospital for 3 months, and he passed away back in April of 2023. So it's been a couple years for me now that I've been trying to deal with that. But in between those times when I had met Jim, we were trying to find, or I was trying to find, like I said, an organization that could kind of help me. And so I found the local chapter of the National Federation of the Blind in here in Virginia, the Winchester chapter. And so immediately, me and Jim joined, and we started getting involved. And I got into the chapter, and I said, "Hey, I want to go out and do outreach." And the president, past President Charlie Brown, unfortunately, he's passed away. He was the state affiliate president for 26 years, and he was in the meeting. And what really struck my chord was, "Well, Chris, just go do it." And I was like, "What?" He goes, "Just go do it." I was like, "Really?" And so that was sort of like that stepping stone to kind of let me find out about this organization, what they're all about, what their philosophy was, how things worked. Because I had worked in associations and other types of organizations, so I kind of knew how things flowed, but I wanted to see exactly what they were doing and what blind people are doing, not just in Virginia, but across the state.
Right.
And so I started doing outreach, and I just started doing speaking engagements. And there were a few things that were going on, like the voting not being accessible when I went to go vote. There was some IEP meetings, which is the individual education plan for a high school student that was here in Winchester, and they were having problems, and I got involved there. And so that kind of helped me move along and build more confidence about who I was as a person, as a blind person, and just to really just learn. And then I got involved with the state affiliate, and I was on the board, and I was their corresponding secretary for a while, and I was doing all their emails and social media, and I was involved in a lot of fundraising, just everything sort of across the board.
Right.
And so they gave me a lot of opportunities, and I just grew from there, and I'm so appreciative of them. And, I did have my ups and downs with them, and, we don't get along with everybody, and that's fine. But, I just had to keep my eye on what the purpose of the organization was, is to really go out and help other blind people who didn't know about the NFB or where to get help, how to, because we've all been through our stuff.
Yes.
And so just listening and just getting involved. And so finally, the president who was in our chapter, she had been president for like 26, 27 years, and decided, I said, "Hey, look, would you mind if I stepped up to be the president so I can learn?" And they opened their arms to me, and I just started doing, the position of the president, and we started building into our membership and going out to the community and really making those connections, because I said, we can't just sit here and talk at the table. We can't just talk the talk. We got to get out there and to the community. And so we kind of, I kicked the butt a little bit to say, this is not just me talking at the table. This is all of us. This concerns all of us to help blind or low vision people within our community, or even up and down the Shenandoah Valley, because there was no really representation out in our area, because we're out, sort of like in the rural country area. And so for the last 12 years since I've been involved, and then once I started doing that, and then unfortunately, Jim served as our treasurer, and then he passed away from that. And then what I did was I told him, I can't focus on doing the work of the Federation. I needed to take some time off. And fortunately, we had two wonderful presidents that stepped up within our chapter, because I encouraged them. I encouraged all our chapter members, whoever wants to step, there's a place for everybody in this organization, wherever we can find it.
Yes.
And so there they've done a fantastic job. I'm so proud of our chapter members. It's just what these presidents have done. And so again, this year I'm in a much better place. And I'm just so happy that they asked me to step up again. And my mind is there. And I'm just going to start back up. And we're going to continue to do the work that we're set out to do. And like I said, at some point, hopefully, I don't want to be president forever, but we're going to hopefully get some other people to, show some interest. And we actually got some new members in. And we just keep working. And like I said, I'm very humbled. I always lead with gratitude. It's not about me. And I've learned a lot from, just everybody else just by really listening to their stories as well, and help them to get through, and the support of the Federation family. And I've been to quite a few NFB conventions, and I'm involved a little bit with the ACB as well. I believe that any organization that's trying to help blind people, I'm not taking sides. I'm kind of bipartisan, and wherever I can, help out and learn from them as well, and give my experiences as well and learn from them. And I'm just happy I'm at a place, because it was a rough, 2 years, and I had to get my house, situated, and luckily that got all done. And I found a couple people, couple guys a couple men that I got involved with, and it didn't work out, but it's okay. I'm not ready. And when the time comes, and it's that time, then I'm going to go ahead and do it. I just need to learn to, the most thing I always tell people is like, we transition in our lives in so many ways and so many aspects, not just being, gay and blind, and I'm Asian as well. And so I have all these characteristics of who I am, and we all have different characteristics, but the characteristic that brings us together is our blindness. And so I I I lead with, empathy and compassion and humility, and I really try not to get too wrapped up. And that's been just over years, just really learning how to lead, and because as you know, we hear all types of different things going on with people. And it's sort of like, what do you do? And we just, sometimes we don't even need to say anything. We just listen. And so that was the most important thing that I've learned throughout the years, and continue to do the work. And so, like I said, I'm here now, and just, I've been very lucky and fortunate that I've been able to talk to like the Kiwanis and the Lions Club. And actually, you guys are Lions too. So, yes. So I am a Lion as well. So yes, for the with the Winchester host Lions. And so yes, I know, hail, hail, the Lions are here.
Yep. And we do all the roars and everything.
Roar, yeah, exactly. So it's just like the NFB, the 1 minute message and all that. So I felt it was very important, because we've done quite a few things with them. Like it used to be Meet the Blind Month, then they changed to Blind Equality Month. And so we did activities downtown, and we've just done a lot. When I was having problems with the voting, I was actually invited to come to speak to all the volunteers in all like 4 different counties. And yeah, so they brought an accessible machine. And so it's so strange. I'm walking downtown. It's like, I remember you from the voting when you came and spoke to us. So
I really think that is really good that you are empowering your chapter too, because sometimes I've noticed that a lot of chapters, they just kind of, like you said, just stay at the table, stay in the room, and then they don't see each other for another month. And the fact of it is now is we have to get out there, and I
Yes.
like that you are doing that with your chapter, and that's what our president is doing now here in Dallas too. And
Mr. Al, yep.
Mr. Al, like, you know,
Yeah, but I'm gonna share a little bit about Al a little bit. I'm sure he's listening.
oh yeah,
So
he's gonna listen. Yep.
yeah, so Al reached out to me before he even became president.
Yes.
And he knew I was the president of the chapter here in Winchester. And he had like tons and tons of questions for me. I said, look, Al, just go do it, man. It's like, just go do it. And I'm amazed by what your Dallas chapter has done, because I just like exactly, he's doing exactly what he's doing. And I see that you guys, you know, I listen, I stay back a little bit, but I listen and watch as well.
Yes.
And so I know I became friends with Ramondo, and
Oh,
now
yes.
with you ladies. And I
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, I've known Al since we were
Yeah,
10,
kids, yeah.
11.
oh, wow.
And
Okay.
I'm sure he'll probably listen. So I tell people all the time, like, I used to beat him up, and he's like, Vic, you don't have to tell him that. We actually did karate taekwondo together, and I
Okay.
remember flipping him over my shoulder.
That's so funny. But he's good people. I mean, we are, a lot of you are such good people. And when you guys invited me, I was like, oh, I'm so excited. You know, it's like,
Yes.
let's do it. But like I said, you know, that's a little bit about my story. And I just, you know, I love to cook. I've been cooking. I've cooked when I was not
That
sighted.
was
And then,
coming up. You weren't
yeah,
off the podcast without telling us the recipe.
yeah. So a lot of my recipes, I cook all types of different foods. So I've cooked Asian food, and I've cooked, you know, a lot of American food as well. Um, because the heritage, I sort of lost my Thai heritage when I came over. I used to speak Thai, but I don't speak it anymore. But I was like, I want to try to create some of these dishes I remember, or some of the dishes my stepmother used to make. So of course, you know, with internet and all that stuff, and YouTube and everything, and recipes on Google or whatever, your Alexa, it'll tell you the recipe. You know, you just have to
Yes.
give the ingredients and do it.
Yes.
And so I just, you know, Jim loved to eat. I love to eat. I cooked throughout the years, but I was, you know, after Jim had passed away, I just totally lost that feeling. I was just, I guess my mind was just somewhere else, and I was trying to get all that stuff cleaned up. And so finally now, you know, everything's kind of settled down, and I'm kind of back in that place. And I was like this morning I made hamburgers, and I'm going to cook them. I
Oh, that's
love the,
happier, right?
yeah, the air fryer.
Yes.
Oh, I love that air fryer. So it cooks wonderful meats, and, you know, fries or whatever you want to cook in it. It basically cooks everything without turning on my stove and oven. And I still bake and things like that, but I make all types of meals, and I love it. And I get excited about eating again. So
That's good. I'm so when I started to see you cooking, I was like, all right, he's coming back around.
yeah, Chef Christopher, as
Yeah.
everybody knows.
Yes.
But yeah, like I said, I'm just kind of, you know, getting used to this single life. I came out, you know, gay when I was 18 years old, and I always knew I was gay ever since I was a kid. You
Right.
know, I had an attraction, and, you know, I loved my GI Joe and my action figures, and my cars and stuff. And yeah, I played Barbie once in a while with the girls sometimes.
Right.
You know, hey, you know, whatever floats your boat is what I say.
Yes.
So, but
One
yeah,
question I did have was, I know I'm kind of going back to the beginning. Like you said, you lost your vision, and then so it you lost your vision probably in a amount of what, a month or so.
yeah, probably like, yeah, 3 weeks.
Yeah, 3 weeks. So, and you were driving and just doing everything normal.
Oh yeah, I was driving. I was working on the Las Vegas Strip in the casino, and
Yeah.
I was also working for Allegiant Air out in Las Vegas. So I was working two jobs at the time, and I just basically what it was, I didn't even have a diagnosis for until recently because I went to the doctor. So I have no idea. Well, he goes, well, we're gonna have an answer for you today. I was
Mhm.
like, cool. So he looked at my eyes, examined them, and this was here in Winchester.
Okay.
And I went to the retina specialist that was recommended to me. So he come back and he goes, basically, it's uh, bilateral acute retina narcosis. And so basically, in a nutshell, it's something like something attacked my retinas
Oh,
and just detached them completely.
Wow.
And so they tried to save my eyesight. I went through the prednisone. Is that the prednisone?
Prednisone.
Yeah, and the eye drops, the pills, and
Wow.
the shots in the eyes, and they did blood work, and I mean they did everything. And then the doctor was finally, there's nothing we can do. And so, when I talked to this doctor and I got the diagnosis, he goes, no, there's nothing we can do. I was like, okay. But like I said, it's been a journey, but I've gotten through it. And sometimes, I feel I had the pity party, like,
right.
darn it, I wish I could see. It's like, where is it? But I'm just glad in this time that we have all these different things to help us, Braille, JAWS with the assistive technology, Be My Eyes, Seeing AI, IRA, PixieBot. They even describe, things. And as you all know, AI is coming into the picture and a little scary, but, you know,
But it helps a lot, though.
But it does.
It does.
it does. I agree because it's just like I couldn't. I don't want to say I can imagine, but I just think back of the people who came before us that didn't have any of this stuff.
Yeah.
I just did not want to be. I was one of those people. I'm not going to sit in my house and sit in the dark. I'm already in the dark. I need to go out and. I need to go out and live life and continue it. And, I was fortunate to have two people that surrounded me, good people that surrounded me. My husband, Jim, he's like, I don't care that you're blind. It's like, I saw the person you were. And so with Joe, the same thing. And I just had my struggles and I've cried many times and I asked God to say, you've written this journey out. Our journey's written out for all of us. And I just try to embrace it. And I try to keep peace in my mind and be mindful. It's like I've done a lot of mindful meditation and also talking to, grief counselor, talking to other people that just will listen and help. There's support out there for whatever it is that we're struggling through, blindness, your sexuality, or uh, whatever you may have going on in your life. And so I try to always have look at the bigger picture, not try to go down that narrow path. And as I say, when you transition, I always tell our members this too. I said, look, when we have to pivot, right? Don't be angry or whatever. I said, always pivot with grace, because some things are out of our control and we have to make that happen because that it wasn't something that just happened overnight for me. It was just so many things that were happening to me in my life. It's like I was like, what do I do? It's like I can either stay angry or sad in these situations. And so I decided, I've always had this attitude of like, God's never failed me and he's not going to fail me now. He got me through all these other things and I continue to do what I need to do. So that's where I find my strength in.
Well, you definitely have a lot of strength, and just know that people out here, I know personally myself, like you give strength even miles away. Like
Yes.
your words, just seeing you on Facebook all the time and just seeing everything that you've been through and how you just keep going.
And I look forward to your posts.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate it because that's sort of like my journal.
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
my life. I mean, I don't journal things and I just like, and there's a lot of times that I may put stuff on there. You see my sad moments, my happy moments, my in
Yes.
between moments.
Yes.
And I tell people, it's like, these are feelings that I'm feeling at the moment. Because
Right.
a lot of people feel like, oh, don't feel that way, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I'm not stuck in those moments. It's just a moment, it's like, and then I kind of move on.
Like my mom, we lost my dad last July, and she's going through the first year, and
Hmm.
this weekend she's just been kind of depressed, and she decided to get out today, and I'm like, I'm glad. We wanted to take her to the Lion King, but she's like, no, and Sharina was like, just let her be. It's getting harder. It's coming up, and I'm like, yeah,
Hmm.
it is, and but then I see your post, and I want to show her some of them, because I just like, all right, mom, it's gonna be okay. It's all right. Let's just get through this week, and then next
Yeah.
week it's gonna be maybe a little harder, and
It's
then
gonna be hard.
but then it's like you say, those weeks she's good, she's
Hmm.
having a good time and just trying to make it past it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, because I joined some widow groups on Facebook, right? And so when I'm reading through them, and I was like, I have nothing to complain about. It's like, unfortunately, we all will pass away, you
yes,
know, and that's the thing. It's like we never know when our day's coming. And as I've gotten older, or even people, it happens in so many ways that people pass away.
Yeah.
yes,
And from cancer, or car accidents, and surgeries, and just all these things that are going on. And I mean, I don't know what, the way I'm going to go, but I figure I'm going to do the best that I can while
yes,
I'm here and
Right.
what I can do. And so when whatever your belief is, if you don't believe, my belief is, if I have to answer to the higher power, I just say, hey, I hope I did what I needed to do, you know.
right,
Yeah.
And
right,
Yeah.
so,
yes,
Yeah.
and
Very spiritual person as well, Chris. And so just hearing you talk about your faith and your strength in God, it's really good to hear.
yes,
yeah, and like I said, I've been through different denominations of churches, and I try to understand, because I've told people, it's like, look, I said, we may think differently, or we come together and we just, whatever we need to do to get to God, or wherever we need to go to make us feel what we need to feel. Um, I have no complaints. It's like, you do it that way. I may not agree to it, but
right, right. You're entitled to your opinion.
exactly. And I'm not going to get into political stuff, but it's scary, that we're in this time, and it's just like, wow, that's all I'm going to say. But I would never treat anybody disrespectfully like that, because it's like, I
No,
don't know what people are thinking. We don't know what's going on.
right,
Exactly.
But for my human existence and the way I feel, and my morals it's always about helping people and lifting them up, because people have done that for me. And I've had people, as we all do, attack us personally.
yes,
And so we have to kind of rise above that and let it happen. And those are lessons that we learn. But I learned a long time ago to not hold on to things and let things go, because the next moment is going to be something different that comes up.
Yes.
yes,
It's changing. So I kind of look at that, and once in a while I kind of get stuck on a where it repeats the record, but in most cases I kind of let it flow.
yep. And in a few years, what's helping me get through all this craziness is we were all here before, people before our time or before my time,
Hmm.
and y'all got through it, and we're getting through it, and we, even if stuff gets ripped from us, it's not like we're just gonna keep fighting. We're not gonna sit here, and I think that's what helps, just with pulling together and sticking around people who are strong and that will advocate.
Yes.
There's a lot of us out there, and that's what I stick to. And that's I just you know I could be a sailor, cursing up a storm, but
Yeah.
I kind of
Yeah.
just shake my head and be like, okay. So
Right.
I mean, we call our representatives and we say, we do what we need to do, the right things, not in a cruel way.
Right.
So, just like we do in any organizations, we fight for the rights of the blind, we fight for the rights of LGBTQ, we fight for just equality all around.
Yes.
But
So we're gonna I wanted to kind of get into a little bit of your cooking too, though. Like we talked.
I was gonna ask for a recipe.
We
I've
talked
been
about
hearing
it.
About the no chocolate chip cookies.
the no bake cookies. So so the no bake cookies. This is how it came about. When I was in school, in elementary school, the cafeteria used to sell them. I love them, and I still love them today. So one year, it's been probably about 8 or 9 years that I've been doing this. So I decided to make no bake cookies for the auction for the state affiliate
Okay.
because we would do live auctions every year.
Yes.
And so every year, I made some for door prizes and I made them for the auction. Well, they went so well, like they were going for like $200, $300 for like 2 dozen cookies.
Wow.
So, I mean, every year they just kept going up. And,
So they had one of those bakers in Virginia too. We had one of those in Pennsylvania too. There was this one guy would always spend $200 to $400 on the cookies in the auction.
Really?
yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah. And I mean, I've been to war on, I want that now. I don't care how much I pay for it. But anyway, so the no bake cookies. So I looked up the recipe and you don't cook them on the stove or you don't cook them in the oven. You don't bake them at all. So everything's done on the stove top. So it's very simple. So it's like butter, sugar, vanilla, cocoa powder, and a little bit of milk.
Oh.
And then you put, your quick oats, the Quaker oats. I buy that. And so on the stovetop, you just have to be diligent to make sure you don't overboil it because once you go to mix the oats and you cooked it too long, it won't hold. So there is a trick. Once it starts bubbling, you take it right off the fire.
Okay.
And then I add the oats in. And so what I did was I lay out the parchment paper on a pan, and I used an ice cream scoop, and so I just scoop them out of the pan, and I end up with usually almost 3 dozen cookies because I doubled the recipe, and then I put them in the refrigerator or freezer until I'm ready for them, and then I get a nice box and package them all up, and I've take them to the convention. I'll do it again this year when we go to Virginia Beach.
When is the convention in Virginia?
It's October 30th to November 2nd. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay. You said October 30th?
Yeah, that's a Thursday. Everything will.
The same as ours.
Yeah, we usually do the end of October, November, because I know some chapters do like in the spring.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we pretty much stick to what everyone else does. But
I might have to plan a trip to go to the the Virginia State.
You and have some no bake cookies.
well, what I'll do, I will send you guys some. Don't tell anybody. No, just kidding.
All right.
I will send you some so you guys can sample them and even take them into the chapter and share them.
Okay.
I can't make those promises, Chris.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, I won't hold you to that. If you eat them, that's fine. But I promise that I'll get them made and I'll get them sent out.
Thank you.
I'll share one with Raimundo and Al.
Okay. Yeah, you have to at least do that because I'm sure if they're listening, they're like, "Hey, where's my cookies?"
Where's my cookies?
But I've done that, for people. They're like, "Can I get some of your cookies?" And I'm like, "Absolutely."
Yes.
So I just package them up and send them on out.
I do have one story that I loved and it was touching. I remember every time because I would listen to you when you would do your lives and you would be in the
Oh yeah, yeah.
cooking. And I remember you making all your cookies. And I remember the Cookie Monster would go in there and you would always say he was eating all of your cookies and donuts.
Jim Walker.
Yep.
Yeah. my husband, he actually loved, because I also make flourless peanut butter cookies.
Yes. Yep.
It's like peanut butter, eggs, and sugar. That's it. And maybe a little bit of vanilla. And you roll them up in a ball. And I, use my finger or my thumb to do or a fork to, do the crisscross with the
Yes.
peanut butter cookies. And sometimes I would add, crushed nuts on it, or sometimes I put chocolate chips in them. I mean, for me, when I cook, it's all about really the taste, right?
Right.
And so over the years that I've been cooking and stuff, I just kind of mastered, things. And I always encourage everybody, if you're blind or not blind, to always, experiment. And it's okay to, if things don't turn out sometimes, like, oh, maybe that was too much of this, or I need a little bit of that. So like I said, I usually, I can portion out things and I do well. And I just do.
That is awesome.
Yes.
I just had to ask about those cookies because I've been thinking about them.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's been hearing about them. They've been talking about.
Oh yeah, like I said, I will. Now you're going to motivate me to go out to the store and get the ingredients and everything.
Well, there we go.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I definitely miss the Facebook lives and you just in the kitchen cooking and Jim was out there fixing the yard for you.
Yeah, we would sit down and have our dinner conversations.
Yes.
Yeah, and like I said, after he passed away, it's kind of stopped. But I did do a live not too long ago.
Yes.
That I hadn't done in a while, and I finally, kind of broke down a little bit to share what had been going on, and
Right.
just to let people know, hey, I'm still around, and
Here.
yeah. But other than that, I'm just happy, and I'm getting my happy back. Let's just say.
Good. That is
Love that for you.
yes, because you got a lot of support and a lot of love out here. And
Yes.
I'll be love when you go on your trips too and start seeing that come around.
Yeah, I plan to do that again, and I just, we did a lot of vacations, and me and Jim, we went to the beach quite a bit. And
Yes.
our last trip was to Disney, so I'd never been to Disney. And
Oh, there you go. I
we
remember
went,
go to South Carolina to the Myrtle Beach and
yeah, that's where we were going. We would be at
yes.
South Beach, and we did like helicopter rides. We did a lot of shows. We just had fun, and
Yes.
I was very fortunate to have him in my life, and Joe too. And Joe and I, traveled across the country and just did things. And I didn't want my blindness to stop me either.
Right. And that's
And so it was like, let's just go,
right.
Just do it.
And so when
Ex-
you
Mhm.
lost your vision and everything, it seems like you had a lot going on during that time. So you had to grieve your vision loss and then a partner. But it seems like you got connected. I guess how did you get connected? Just knowing where to go and try to get the training and the braille and all that.
Well, at the beginning, I had no clue. I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do? But fortunately, a coworker of mine who worked for Legion Air, Debbie Jones, she's my friend on Facebook, and she's in Florida now. And she reached out to me and said, Chris, well, call 211. They have services for the blind. And so that's how I got connected to the rehab services there. And then they explained to me, well, there's services everywhere in each state. And so that's how I got connected with blind services. And so when I got to Virginia, I just reached out to the Department of the Blind and Visually Impaired and got connected with them. And they have satellite offices here. And so I needed to pick up on my orientation mobility because I was in a new place in Winchester. So they taught me how to get around and do that. And I always tell people, it's just like, we're not going to be perfect at it. Things happen, we get scared about some things because sometimes even 16 years later, I still get a little nervous. But I said, I loved what the NFB said one year because I was just so like, oh, I have to be independent. I have to be this, right? I was like, well, I'm not a super blind person. I never, admitted that I was. I was scared. I was nervous. I had all these inside feelings. But I remember them and I was hearing those, however you get here, by guide dog, by sighted guide, by yourself, if you crawled, if you rolled, whatever you get, you got here.
Right.
Yes.
And so I was like, that's about time.
Yeah, and I love that because and that's one thing I have been pushing out here is because certain places in different states and the different organizations, certain people they look down on, oh well, if you take paratransit or if you take Uber, they want you out there on the bus doing this and doing that. And I'm like, okay, well, if we're gonna do that, if we have to do that, I want to see you do that too, because I don't see you doing that. So I do
Right.
like the fact that you brought that up and other people are seeing that, because that's what I believe in too. I'm like, it doesn't matter how you get where you need to go. It's
As
the
long as you
whole
get there.
it's the way that you actually took the time to figure out how to do what you did to get there.
Absolutely. And like I said, some people, live in the big city and they got all types of modes of transportation to
Right.
choose from.
Yeah.
Like me out here, I don't have paratransit. I have my friends and family. I
Yeah.
have Uber. Uber came not too long ago, but
Right.
what did they do before? And I was like, there's no shame in the game.
No.
And my thing too, and I'm sure you guys had philosophy talks as well. It's like, well, do you pay your fair share? It's like, it doesn't matter if I'm blind or not blind. I'm still gonna take a discount. So
Right.
what does
Exactly.
that have to do with my blindness?
Right.
But I think it was, I don't know what that whole thing was, but I think they've calmed down on some of that stuff, because I think they're
Yes.
starting to realize, like, hey, you know, we're a part of this organization. And they had, I was also co-chairing the DEI here in Virginia. So we were one of the first states that started the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee.
Yes.
And so I was a part of that. And, I learned a lot from that, because I learned a lot about different things that I
Yes.
never learned about, that I never knew about.
Right.
And so I took that experience and, and now, somebody else works with that DEI. And, I spoke to Sean Calloway in DC, and he was a good supporter and mentor.
Yes.
And I asked him questions and invited them to come speak to our chapter. So we would run programming. And, for the first year, I really wanted to focus on everything, like the Muslim group, the Asian group, the Black empowerment, just everything, the LGBTQ. And I just really had the opportunity to, because I know when I came into the NFB of Virginia and they were doing the chapter reports at the meeting. Well, come find out, I was mentioned along with Jim, and they were like, well, Chris and Jim's husband. And we had so many people come up after us, like, oh my God. I was like, what? I was like, we're so glad that finally somebody said something, about being LGBTQ.
Yes.
And so finally, and this was in 2014.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I didn't know that was something. I don't know. I never thought of it that way.
Right.
But, and then it was, I was fortunate enough because there was an actual a family of a transgender who was there, and I got to meet her. And you just don't know who you really are going to, affect, or people listening to you. And I've been so grateful, with so much gratitude, that people hear your stories. And
Yes.
you keep up with those people, and that's how you also bond with people, because being relatable and just being your true authentic self and nothing but yourself is the best way that I've always, it took me a long ways. I had to learn to love myself, because for a long time I didn't love myself. And then finally I said, you know what, I am who I am. These are experiences I've gone through. Now I can take this love and give it to other people.
Exactly.
And make them look at it in a different point of view.
Exactly. Yep, this exactly true. And that's what I tell everybody. Just be yourself and don't change, because if you change for the better, but
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
remember you for who you are. Yeah, change for you.
Don't do it for.
Don't ever do it for anyone else.
Right, except for yourself. And like I said, I think a lot of the things that have, made me who I am, the man that I am today is all the experiences that I had and will continue to have. And I'm in such a better place, in my life, even through the, I don't even want to say tragedies. I just want to say life.
Yeah.
Life happens. And, I just, the only, the connection I have, I get worried now because I have a little toy poodle, Maltese poodle, and Jojo, and he's going to be 14. He's getting old, and there's things that are changing about him. And that's really the kind of the last connection I kind of have with Jim,
Right.
and that as that physical aspects of it. But I know at some point, my life will continue after that as well.
Right.
Yes,
And,
yes.
yeah.
Do you plan, I know you probably don't know, but later on, are you planning to stay where you're at there, or if life brings you other opportunities, do you see yourself moving anywhere else?
Well, I have to tell you a story. So just recently, I was supposed to go out to Southern California.
Mm-hmm.
I had met somebody and everything was good. Oh my gosh, I had sent all my stuff to California and, I was getting ready to sell my house and something just told me like, wait a minute,
Right.
I have not met this person. I'm blind, it's like, well, why doesn't that person come out to you? And, everybody always wants to have your ear.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, it was my decision.
Right.
And so I felt like, I told Sean, I said, look, we both were kind of jumped on it too soon. I said, we got to learn about each other. I said, if I would have gotten out there and made this decision and it didn't work out, I would have been okay.
Right.
But there was just so many working parts, as you know, when you move or
Right.
make a change, there's a
Yes.
lot of things that you have to plan out.
Yes.
And so, like I said, I was so close, but then, of course, he was hurt, and we were both hurt by it. And I think the thing was, it's like, we were actually, because of our loneliness, I think we wanted somebody, and he was married as well, and he was with his husband for 50 years.
Oh, wow.
So long time. So we were both kind of coming from a place of, it sounds good on the surface,
Right.
but I said, let's go ahead and get to know each other. So we're still continuing to talk and stuff. And,
Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
and the thing was, it's like, I wasn't ready. He wasn't ready. And I had also met somebody prior to Sean, and he lived in Michigan, and he's up in Wisconsin now. And he's a pastor of a church. And he came to Virginia, and he came to NFB convention with me last year. And
I did see
and
that. Yes.
yeah, Bruce. So we weren't ready, and he wasn't ready, and I was ready, and he said he wasn't ready. So, as a grown adult, things in life happen, and
Right.
if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be, and only time will tell. And
Yes.
I didn't mean to hurt anybody along the way, but it's just humans, being human and wanting things in our life. But for now, I got everything, I got my stuff sent back and kind of resettling back into my house. And I decided to go ahead and get things done. I hired a company to come out, a landscaping company. So they power washed my house and did painting. They just refurbished and just brightened everything up in my house. And so I decided, in the memory of Jim, to stay here. And if I do go to California, then it's going to be sort of like I have my home here and I'll have home in California.
There you go. That's the smart way to do it.
Yes.
So I said, I'll come like a snowbird in Florida. I'll just come to California.
There you go.
Instead of going to Florida, I'll just go to California. And he agreed with that and stuff. So,
Yeah.
like I said, we'll see where it goes. But,
Yes.
I'm open to dating or whatever. I'm a free man. So
Now, now I know Jim was cited, and I guess Joe was cited. So, have
yes.
you ever dated any blind men?
No,
No.
No.
Okay.
no.
Would you do that, or you're just more
Absolutely.
yeah? So it's whatever happens, happens, right?
Yeah. I mean, even if they even weren't blind and has any type of a disability, I
Uh-huh.
would you know, I don't know. I just don't look at it that way.
Right.
I look
Yeah.
at the person inside.
That's
Exactly.
awesome.
That's
And
exactly
so, like I said, I found out, things about Sean and didn't realize it, but I was okay.
right.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I have some physical things going on with me. And I said, I'm trying to guess. And he finally divulged to me. He's like, I'm a double amputee. And I was
Oh,
like, oh, okay. I didn't know. But it didn't bother me. I said, I still love you. I was like, you're still the same person, right? And
yeah.
I said, I bet you got those really cool looking metal legs, don't you? Because I worked for the American Orthotic and Prosthetic Association. So
Right.
I knew about the, artificial limbs and how they work. And I said, if anybody who's never seen them, they look like they're really cool. Is the way they make them today is so like RoboCop type of stuff. But anyways, I just told him, I said, yeah, I'll just throw off your legs and throw them to the side of the bed.
Get them out the way, right?
Exactly. You just have to kind of make light of it. It's like, it doesn't matter. I can't see you anyways.
Right. Right. It's awesome.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, we just take humor. I take light of it. We kind of laughed about it.
Yes. Yes.
We just kind of move on.
All right, Chris. Well,
It has been a pleasure.
it's been
talking
awesome.
to you.
Before we wrap it up, I guess, it is our Pride episode. What does Pride mean to you? And is there any last minute words that you would say to encouraging words that you would say to anyone out there?
Sure. So pride to me is being who you are, loving who you want, especially just take pride in your life and yourself and just everything that you do. I know it's not always possible, but always keep that mindset, to always look forward. And it's okay to look back. It's okay to be where you're at the moment. So for me, I could just tell everybody, just be good to yourself, be kind to others, and just keep loving. And there's a good world out there, um, despite all the other stuff that's going on. And like I said, keep supporting each other, keep loving each other. And that's basically that simple.
I love that.
Awesome. And if anyone wanted to get a hold of you or follow you, are you comfortable with giving them like Facebook or?
Sure, absolutely. So if you look up Christopher Walker, do a search for person, I pop up. You'll see in my profile that I live in Winchester and that I serve as currently the vice president now, for the Winchester chapter, and just request me as a friend. I could also be reached at 540 or you can contact me by email at chrisvinson1@gmail.com. That's CHRIS, V as in Victor, INSON, the number one at gmail.com. Vincent was my maiden name, so if I'm confusing anybody, I apologize. But I just kept that old email since I've had it for years. So Vincent was my maiden name before I got married to Jim. So you can, like I said, if you want to email, call me, however you feel comfortable, I'm here.
Awesome,
Well,
Chris.
thank you, Chris. It has truly been a pleasure having you on our special episode of Ending Pride. So thank you for being with us today.
Right. And
Well, thank you guys. And like I said, I'll get my ass kicking up into those no bake cookies.
oh, yes. You know what? You can be a guest on our episode every week.
As long as I bring some treats. So,
Well, Chris, if you ever need anyone to talk to, if you ever, just need anything, reach out to us. And
We are here.
when does your presidency for the chapter take effect?
It will take effect September.
Okay, in September.
So we have a couple months, but we had our meeting and we wanted to discuss because we already knew that Wayne was going to step down. And so they had asked me, would you step back up again? And I said, let me think about it. And then we finally, it was brought up by our members saying we need to find out who's going to serve on the board. So we have pretty much everybody secured. And Wayne is actually going to be from our president, and he's going to be our treasurer now.
Nice.
So, we, like I said, we give people opportunities to wherever they want to serve. And then that way he's not, pressured, because as a leader, as you all know, and doing things, it's a lot. There's a lot on your plate, and it's fine. And it's all good.
I like that you even step down because you needed to take personal time for yourself so you can give your best.
Yes.
That's big.
Yeah. And then I also wanted to give them opportunities to shine and to be their, because I told them, I said, look, you're going to have your different style. You don't have to follow my style.
Right.
But I'm proud of them because they have followed, my sort of thinking. And like I said, I don't know. It just puts a smile on my face when I think about the things that we're doing.
Shout out to the Winchester chapter in Virginia. And so we're gonna wrap it up, y'all. Thank you so much, Chris. And next we will be starting July. July is coming up, 2 days away. And everybody have a great 4th if we don't talk to y'all before then.
Probably won't.
Just so you all know what we got coming up in July is we're gonna have a couple of solo episodes with each other, me and my love, bringing in just different topics. And as far as our guest speakers, we're looking for some guest speakers who would like to talk about employment, small business. If you're running any type of small business, we definitely support LGBT. So that's, if you are any shade, let us know. And we would love to spotlight you and what you are offering in your business. So we're looking for 2 guests. So shoot us an email, shoot us a voicemail, text, at shadesofpridepod@gmail.com. Or like I said, the phone number is 682-730-2001.
And you can always also Facebook message us on our Facebook page, which is the Shades of Pride. The Shades of Pride with Vic and Rita.
Yes. So that's what we got coming up in July, y'all. Y'all stay safe. And Chris, it was nice having you here.
It was very nice.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, ladies, so much for your time, and thank you for letting me share my story.
All right. Well, you take care, and we are going to go ahead and end this.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Awesome. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Speech on. Active speaker avid. Minimize meeting. Whiteboards. Captions. Record. AI. Record. Button. Pause recording. Button.